everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
if you've ever wanted, we didn't get our woohoo in.
I
Woohoo!
coughed instead. I was holding in my cough. Woohoo!
We're already off to a running start. If you've ever wanted to de-stress and relax, then do we have the show for you. Today we'll talk about getting your stress levels down and the action heating up. That, plus we'll talk about hunger pain, learning to walk, boundaries, driving on ice, running solo, calling in angels, geeking with gadgets, the strangest New Year's ever, and what in the world Sir Meowsers calling has to do with anything. So, welcome to the show, CJ. Are you ready to
I am
shine?
ready to shine.
We've lost you already.
Woo! You got like a Halloween version. Woo! Okay. So, Sir Meowsers is calling on the phone, or how's he calling?
Well, he's learning many new techniques. So the Jessica has left North Carolina for the week
Ah.
and is back with her family. It's kind of a delayed Christmas holiday with them. So she left on actually she was supposed to leave New Year's Day, but the flight got canceled, delayed, all that good stuff. So she left the day after, and it is my busiest week in well that I can recall with this show.
Wow.
Everything got compressed for the holidays, and our coaching sale was off the hook amazing. And so
Yay.
full docket, full interview load, full everything, no complaints at all. But the producer isn't here for the week, and
No.
so it is juggling everything. Has been fasten that seatbelt, hold on, take a deep breath, and then on top of that, Sir Meowsers has been like, need food, need more food, Daddy, need food. And so I'm learning how to be a better daddy. I'm learning how to juggle even better these needs. You would think it's simple to feed a cat. It's not actually that simple, particularly when this cat was used to free birding for the majority of his life. If he needed food, he
Mm.
caught it. And so it's been I'm really actually I'm challenging myself to learn because we'll have kids potentially in this coming year to learn how to drop everything, to make that fast switch, which is
Mm-hmm.
something I haven't been that skilled with because I want to bookmark what's going on in my mind and then come back to it. And I think he's a great teacher for me on this. He goes, meow, and I'll be like, I will be right with you. Meow, I'm coming. And try to drop everything and get to him. So it's been an interesting and I'm taking it as much of a fun experience. He is learning, he's probably listening to this right now. There are more things that he can do to help facilitate me along. Like he is I don't know, we could say he's in his middle years. He used to not take big jumps
Mm-hmm.
and we've gotten his health back. And so now he can leap up onto counters with
Wow.
ease and which is very impressive. He's a big kitty. And his favorite activity to do to get your attention is to shred paper.
Oh
And so we usually
no.
keep the paper up on counters. So now he can get up on the counters. So the minute he goes and pulls that claw out, you're like, your wish is my command. How may I help you, Sir Meowsers? And we love him so dearly, but now he gets action faster from us.
Why can't you just put the papers away?
Oh, well, you can, but he'll go find them.
Oh my God. So he'll hunt them down. Wow.
He'll find something to make sure he gets your attention. And he doesn't do it with any malice. He's all love but also food oriented. But he's saying, what's the doorbell? You know, Daddy's lost at his work. What's the doorbell I can hit so I can get some food faster? The
That's
trick is then you give
hilarious.
him one food, he takes a few bites and he goes, okay, I want a different type of food, please. And you try to help him out with treats on that, and then he goes, no, no, may I have a different type, please? And because he really wants fresh food. And since I'm not going to feed him live mice and birds, and I wish there was a way to feed cats vegan, and don't worry, everybody, there isn't. I haven't even tried that. But
Great. Wow.
so it's a balance.
That's
You do
really
what you
funny.
can.
It's funny. I just imagined, well, When you have kids, it's like that all the time. I mean, it would
It's good
be like,
training wheels.
yeah, when you have children, babies in particular, they'll cry, and you can't be like, hold on, I'm uploading a show 20 minutes later. It's like, it's basically you get up, you go, and you stop what you're doing, and you get the baby, and you feed the baby. I mean, it's good luck. This is your
Now
new
picture
future.
baby with claws.
Yeah, no, this is totally great preparation for having a kid because
I'm
your
looking
whole
at it
life
that
is
way.
like that. Up until like now even. I mean it slows down between K through 5, like the birth through 5 years old, there's a lot of that. And then it changes from kindergarten from middle school to a lot of like play with me, play with me, play with me till about third or fourth grade, and then they're like, get out of here, and then like, oh my God, I broke this, so there's a different level of attention that they need. And
I'm
then
getting the
it's,
play with me. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, the play with me thing, it's funny because you think, luckily I was playing with them, like when they're like play with me, I'd stop what I was doing and play as to the extent that I could, but now I miss that stage because it's so sweet, but at the
So the
time it feels
kitties are
really
saying,
irritating.
play with me.
That what the kitty's saying, play with me.
Oh no. The kiddies are saying play with me now, and that's what I'm really challenged the last few days and figuring out how to I can run the show, I can run the coaching, all of this good, and give them love because I don't want to be the daddy that neglects my kids someday and the daddy who neglects his kitties.
Right.
And so, like, I took extra time before going to bed last night to make sure I'm giving him enough love to explain daddy's running a little thin on the resources here,
Right.
but I want you to know that you're loved and I want to give you that one-on-one attention so that you feel special, which you are.
There's this psychologist, I can't remember his name, but he talks about good enough and the idea of, and particularly when I was a parent, that was actually a really important concept. So that whatever, that radio show was good enough. Like if you spend another 20, 30 minutes on it, it may be incrementally better, but you could save 20 or 30 minutes of your life and just say it's good enough and launch it on. And so same thing goes with everything, the shows, the playing, it's like what's good enough. And it's for me, at least what I found is that oftentimes it was my perfectionist tendencies that really got in the way of being able to spend time with my kids. So when I just thought, okay, that's good enough. It feels weird because good enough seems mediocre to me, but good
No, no,
enough
no.
actually is good enough. It's what you need. That's it. Move on.
We have this goes right into today's theme. Who knows? We may have a new theme here, but
Yes.
but with a daily show, we have learned that good enough is great,
Hmm.
and we operate on an expression that we got from a mentor of ours years ago: "Done is better than perfect."
Hmm.
And we were going for perfect, and so things that could have been done really rapidly instead could take a year, turn into a year or two project. We were
Right.
like king and queen of big projects for things that had no business being big projects. They turned out beautiful, but we kind of missed waves and completely imploded ourselves. So New Year's, getting to this segues perfectly to New Year's
Yeah.
Day or New Year's weekend,
Yeah.
which is we've made these programs. We made a beautiful mindful running program. We made a barefoot running, actually, this how-to movie. It
Mm.
was a beautiful experience, which was completely unnecessary. We had filmed a great how-to DVD and said not good enough, threw it out and started again,
Wow.
and hired a crew, went to Maui, filmed this whole drop dead thing, spend our savings on it, missed the wave
Mm.
because done is better than perfect, and we were shooting for perfect. Fast forward, and we were going over our dreams, our visions for the coming year, the day before New Year's, and we're writing them all down. We're talking about them. It's this beautiful discussion, and one of the things we said is it'd be really great to make an automatic writing experience program,
Mm.
a series of videos that people could follow along because the book is taking its time with the editor. It will come out as it comes out.
Hmm.
Um, it's a process. Editing takes time. Publishing a book, even if you do it yourself, it takes time. So, and we love you, Jeanette. Thank you, thank you, thank you for working on the book. With that said, we said, well, we'd like to get out this program when there's the time. Well, what's it going to take? And Jessica's like, well, you teach it to people on a regular basis. You teach every one of your coaching clients it. You've outlined it in a book. You live it on a daily basis. We should be able to really outline this thing and whip it out in a weekend
Wow.
if we took the time for it.
Right.
We know how to do this. This doesn't have to take a year or two anymore.
Right.
And she goes, the breakthrough is you're doing your Facebook Lives weekly. You're doing your daily wow on video. You're not scared to be on camera anymore without a
Right.
script. You
Right.
used to have to script everything. She's like, we can just knock this out of the park. We just need a weekend. And we both kind of stepped back. Our necks snapped back. And we went, wait a second. It's a holiday weekend. I cannot recommend this for anybody. It certainly wasn't the way we intended a kind, gentle,
Exactly.
easy, good
What a way
weekend.
to start off the
But
new year.
but we did enjoy New Year's Eve with each other, and then on New Year's, we filmed 30 videos.
Wow. How long is each video?
3 to 6, maybe one is 7 minutes long. So they give you little bite-sized pieces. It's in 6 different modules. It breaks it out step by step. There's troubleshooting. There's all these
Yay.
things.
Nice
And it was
work.
all, she outlined it the day before and just said, go.
That's
And it
fantastic.
flowed. Total water flowing downhill because done is better than perfect.
Right.
And it's in the can. Now there's minor, very, very minor edits that get to be done. Then she gets to upload it. That's probably going to be the majority of the time. And it's done for people. It's
Wow. That's
done.
great. That feels great. Wow.
Woohoo!
I think that is a woohoo. I was thinking about that whole process of just done is better. That done is better than perfect, and it does take time to perfect that. But there's a certain point, and it doesn't mean 10,000 hours. There's a certain point. You have there's a song that's the 10,000 hours that you actually hit your mastery, and it doesn't take as much. So this book. I have an interview with this woman in probably about half an hour from now. And I looked at my calendar yesterday and said, oh, I have an interview tomorrow with this woman.
Transform your boundaries for those who
Transfer
can't
your
see it.
boundaries.
And this woman's walking on what looks like a slack line between a couple trees.
Yeah, so I was reading this and I thought, well, I only have like an hour tonight, so that's all I can dedicate. So I just read through the book and was able to come up with pretty decent questions. I would never, in the past, I wouldn't have gone through this. I would have spent probably 4 hours reading. It's another 2 hours thinking about the questions, and then typing up the questions would be another hour. So, probably 6 hours. And now, basically within an hour, I have completed what I need to do. It's probably a little bit longer, maybe 2 hours for skimming the book. And the other day I had an interview and because I want to spend time with my kids who are home for my son who's home from college. So I thought, well, I can spend time reading this book or I can spend time with my child. And so I just muscle tested which chapters to read. I skimmed through the whole book, like in an hour or two. And, it's so much less than I would have done in the past. And the woman said to me at the end, she's like, I've had like 2 radio interviews every day for the last 2 weeks, and this has been the best radio interview that I've had. So, and which was like, oh, thank you. And that makes me always feel happy, of course, when people say that. And I took way less time. That she said, you were so prepared for the book. You've read it's obvious that you read the book. I'm like, I sort of did. But, she's like, the questions, everything was just so wonderful. And the other thing I did, because I didn't have a lot of preparation, I only had like 4 questions because the material didn't necessarily resonate with me fully. It seemed to be very focused on one area. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about because it's about women and menstrual cycles, and it's pretty much about that. The whole book is like 10 chapters about that. It's like, I can't talk that much about this. But I was able to stretch it out by like pulling in audience feedback because we were getting lots of audience questions. And it worked great. So I just think that, like you said, like you don't have to do as much as you think that you need to. And at a certain point, you hit a mastery point that you don't really need to do it anymore. So I think it's great. And I love the idea that you've been doing these Facebook videos. I think that that's fantastic. I feel
It
like I
has
should do something similar, but I don't know if I have the motivation to do it.
it's real simple. They've been fun. This last one was, I think, our third, and it was the most fun one yet. And we had so many great people and so many people who are shooting in questions left and right as you're talking. And then you see these little heart bubbles coming up on the screen as you're going.
Oh,
I don't even
very
know how
cute.
those are, if that's people just watching or if they're clicking like or something. It was just so cool, but
That's
it's a
very cool.
boundary breaker.
Yeah.
And it comes back. So we're talking about de-stressing and de-stressing in the new year because now it seems to be full on for people. But it's been, I think, a beautiful energetic shift. And maybe we have a whole show on that maybe next week.
Right.
But this theme of letting go of it doesn't need to be perfect really takes the cork off of our stress that's bottling up. Because if we're worried about how perfect it's going to be, then we're going to be right through the last dot of the I or cross of the T. We're scared, we're nervous, we're stressed out. If instead we know it's going to be all right, it may not be perfect, but it's certainly going to be good enough,
Right.
it completely takes the stress off, and chances are you're going to do 10 times of a better job. I can't say if I had spent any more time than I did recording those 30 videos that it would have gotten any better because my energy was great just talking from the heart, going, oh,
Mm.
well, I could have said this and I could have said that, and let's script out this and that. And then all of a sudden, I'm dry scripting it or
Mm.
I'm nervous because I'm trying to get the words out. Instead, I
Mm-hmm.
dropped into heart, I relax, I go. And
Mm.
so it is a big challenge for people for this coming year is to say, in what areas am I over delivering? We're not talking about poor performance or putting in subpar work. We're talking about getting our life back so that we have more energy, either at the end of the day, more energy for creative thinking in the workplace, more energy to feel better about ourselves, which perfuses and flows over into everything.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about you last Sunday. I was walking around the lake with my dear friend Kelly. Every week we walk around the lake. And I said, "So, what are your New Year's resolutions?" And she's going to turn 70 this week. And she said, "You know what? It's weird. I don't like in the past, I would have these resolutions like lose weight or, work out more or, those kinds of resolutions. And she's kind of a free spirit. So those kind of resolutions generally don't work well with her at all. But she's like, I just don't even have that kind of like my mindset is so different right now. And she said, my resolution is to say to myself, one, you have everything that you need. And then the second thing is let go. Let go. That's it. She's like, that's my New Year's resolution. And I thought, that is the
What a beautiful, peaceful year.
that is the best New Year's resolution because and I was thinking about you because I was thinking also about myself and how my New Year's resolutions have changed over time. Like, so when I was your age, I think you're probably a decade younger than me. So when I was around your age, I was kind of like, what are my numbers? Where am I driving to? What are the programs I'm going to launch? And it's funny, I have zero of that right now. One decade later, I have zero interest in any of any of that. Like, I care about my numbers, but I don't, sometimes I forget to look. Like, I don't even know how many YouTube subscribers I have. I don't even remember the last time I looked. It's probably been a month. The last time I looked at my website has been probably a month. So those kinds of things have changed so dramatically for me over the last 4 or 5 years. And my goals are just more kind of thinking about categories of spiritual life and family life, and it used to be look like that, and now my goals are just they're related to the solar eclipse. And you remember when you interviewed that gentleman, he had said it's like something like the solar eclipse was in Leo, and it's about creativity, joy, and leadership. And those are pretty much ones I'm going to continue focusing on. But it's really just very simply like have my creativity be a source of fun, freedom, and fun, freedom, and meaning, and then like lead through love, and that's it. So like my friend Kelly, it's kind of like turned into like very small subset of things. It's interesting how over periods of time, and probably when in my 20s I would have had the like lose weight, talk to these many friends, those kind of things, and now it's just like these high level conceptual things. I think it's interesting.
It's both. You've talked about it being more of an inner journey now, but you're also getting down to the essence rather than focusing on. So, for instance, you could say, and forgive me if I said this on last week's show, we all say, well, I want $1 million. But is it the $1 million you want, or is it the freedom that it buys you? Is it, in theory, is it having other people on a team to help you to give yourself more time? What is the use of the $1 million? What's the importance of it? And you're just skipping the $1 million. You'll be okay with that too. And you're saying, what's the essence of what I'm looking for?
Right.
Let me just get straight there.
Yeah, and going back to the theme of the show, I mean, that actually just decreases the stress levels. You know what I mean? It's just about like, I used to stress out about like, how am I going to hit the numbers? I'm going to like, my goal is to get like X thousand subscribers and Y, and it's like, okay, it's just about having these, reaching kind of these conceptual places instead. So that's kind of been fun to play around with. And I'm learning because it's not easy to make this transition because there's a part of you that is like, moving at this kind of churning speed, and the other parts it's like slow down, slow down, slow down. So there's at this juncture, I'm looking into my future and thinking I need to slow down because if I come at the current pace that I'm running at 1,000 miles, I'm going to derail off the train tracks. So it's kind of like, and then kind of like, no, slow down, slow down, slow down. So that's kind of my, it seems like energetically where I am, slowing down and then kind of calming down. Hard to do when you run 1,000 miles per hour previously.
It's interesting. I did on our daily wow this morning, what we have on our patron campaign, inspire, what is it? patreon.com/Inspire Nation. Anyway, on there, I put my daily words of wisdom up, and this morning was about the balance of opposites. And that's what you're talking about. How can I go 1,000 miles an hour and slow down at the same time?
Right.
And for myself, I've got what I call my woohoo 8, these 8 different categories of things that I want to see come to fruition, whatever that means. And one of those is actually to deepen my spiritual practice by finding more time for myself, more time with my family, more time with the kitty cats, more time with my spiritual practice. And I have that as one of the top, I guess you can call it, goals for the year, so that the other 7 don't run ramshod right over that 8th. Instead, that is firmly there to remind me of really big picture. I want more space between the notes. That's what's going to bring the music out in whatever I do.
Right. It's funny because this is going back to Boundaries, this book that I'm going to be interviewing this gal with. It's funny, and I think I've told you this, and I don't know if you have this too, but it seems like the books that I need to read come up like literally in
heck yeah.
Yeah, alignment with my life. And so the first book was about this menstrual cycle one, which I was like, that's not really aligning. But what did align was the idea of taking free space for yourself and the importance of doing that, and how this gal who I spoke to, my impression was that she never felt good enough to actually reward herself. Like she was never good enough to justify taking that free space and slowing down. Because in order for her to do that, that would mean that she mattered as much as her kids or her husband or whomever who was sucking up her time otherwise. And so she could not, at first she kind of struggled with like, what she suggests is like when you have your menstrual cycle, for you to basically retreat into a different place and use that as a nature cycle to kind of let go. Because during that process, the indigenous people believe that it's a way for you to let go of every toxic idea, belief, physical thing. And so it's like this beautiful gift that women have that are kind of like a vision quest. So I thought it was kind of interesting. So she mentioned that. And then this gal who was talking about boundaries was saying that, there's lots of different ways in which we basically sacrifice things that are important to us. We have a spiritual yes, like we need to do something, an inner yes, like we need, or no, like I don't want to do that, or whatever it is. And there are different modalities that kind of prevent us from following that, because we're workaholics, because we're a sacrificer, because we are a caretaker, because we're used to like numbing and hiding when those things. And so she talks about understanding your modalities. So I thought it was kind of interesting, but I think that those are the things, those are the obstacles, right, for doing the thing that you mentioned.
It's fascinating when you talk about this book that you just read, which is, to me, I'm hearing is a macrocosm, in an indigenous wisdom way, a macrocosm of a monthly cycle.
Yeah.
Because in indigenous wisdom, that monthly cycle, woman takes time off.
Right.
This is time to go hibernate, go quiet,
Right.
to allow things to detox, to be able to cleanse, purify, to take time for yourself, not for the tribe, not for anybody else. We've forgotten this. But like on Jessica's special day of the month, I'm like, you do whatever you want, girl. We don't need an upload. We don't need anything from you. Take the time, because it's important to get that burden off of the system on that day.
Right.
And we've forgotten that.
Well, actually, what she said is that's twofold. It's one for the person to personally detox, and it's also during their vision quest. They can actually, it's their most creative period, because they don't have to have a baby at that point. They're shedding their uterine lining. So what they can do is it's their most creative time, and so they actually convene with the cosmos and sometimes get advice for the tribes. So it's kind of a dual thing. It's for yourself and it's for others. So at least that's what I've been told. I frankly don't know, because I haven't talked to any people of indigenous culture. But it's funny that you're talking about this in your daily wow, that tension between the two, because it's something that I've been contemplating. Like, how do you reach that effort and ease point? So during this whole transitional period, when my son is back from college, there's a part of me that's like, I just want to hang out and like have lunch with him and hang out with him, and just, it's more important to kind of connect with him and build the relationship than it is to, read 4 hours on a book or all these other things that I need to do. And part of me says, well, no, you have to have the discipline, because, you haven't been doing your meditations as regularly, and that's important, because that's ultimately, that means that you're saying that your personal things and what you care about, quiet time, is less important than connecting with him. So it's this kind of, I think that there's a dance between these two things. And I think it's, my dear friend Ragini would say, you kind of look at the signals of when you're starting to feel bad about not doing those, and that's when you need to go, like, So I'm actually getting to the point, like, okay, I think I need to get back to the discipline, and that's when it's like, okay, move to the discipline. It's like, oh, I don't feel like I'm connecting enough with Jida. Okay, well then go to that, So it's like it's going through the cycles of life and just moving back and forth, versus like, I need to be at this fixed point at this juncture, and staying there the whole time, because life doesn't work that way. Like Sir Meowsers has taught you.
and life hurts. When you try to be rigid, you tend to get the 2x4 over the head, because
Yes.
you're no longer allowing the flow to take place. You are trying to drive the ship.
Yes.
And none of us are in total control of our car. Maybe we'll get there later, but we've got a couple inches of ice on the road outside of us in North Carolina. And it really is an illusion of control, or a delusion, to think that we are in control.
There are a couple of inches of ice on the road?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, so how much did it snow where you are? And are you homebound, or can you even leave?
So, no, I'm homebound. I can leave. And then I want to come back to what you said about signals in a minute. So we're going to bookmark signals. So we got about 5 inches of snow here.
Wow.
Emerald Isle, southernmost barrier island, doesn't usually snow. We got about 5 inches. It's known for melting right away. It's marginal, if any, that is melted. It's still below freezing. The ponds have been freezing up. Everything's been freezing up. Some of the marshland is freezing up. I got to the gym this morning, and I grew up in New England, north of Boston. So I love driving in snow,
Yeah, it's not a
and
big
it's
deal.
really, really fun for me. And the conclusion I had was, wow, this was really sketch because there's no sanding or salting equipment, and most of it is a couple inch thick of bumpy ice that then becomes ice rink skating. And
Wow.
so there were many times where I'm just thankful I was driving a standard and it's just clutch down, hold your breath, because the vehicle will right itself if you're not telling it what to do. So you put the clutch down, you let it do its thing, you get the wheels back under you, and you go again. And I was thinking about that on the drive there, and then particularly on the drive back, and I'm like, the bigger deal here, as I've said to myself before, is not everybody's going to know to do that.
Right.
And particularly when they have like a big four-wheel drive pickup truck or SUV, they may think I've got control, which is an illusion. But particularly with the ice that we have here, I watched the emergency crews driving past me as I was limping my way home, going, wow, this is much rougher than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. In Seattle, it very rarely snows, but the first day it did snow, it was the first time I was working at Microsoft my first year, and I drove to work, and I was like, "Where is everyone?" Because there were like 4 inches on the snow on the ground, and I was like, "Where is everyone?" They're like, "Oh, it's," and there were like a couple people at the office. They're all East Coast people, and no one drives. If there's any like remnant, like a dusting of snow, people don't drive around here. And what I realized is it's less about you driving in the snow and more about other people not knowing how to drive in the snow. So there'll be people on the highway that are driving, at 70 miles per hour. It's like, no, it's snowing. You don't drive in 70 miles per hour because you have no maneuverability if something were to happen and they're following you. And it's like, oh no. So you don't drive not because you can't drive, but because the people around you have no idea what they're doing, which
Well,
is your point.
I learned that. I think I had to learn that the hard way a few times because I considered myself this real cocky, good driver in my early years who used to, I grew up with this huge tank of an old Oldsmobile Delta 88 rear wheel drive. And I'd go out and play in the snow and do donuts in the parking lot
Whoa.
and drive through the snow piles with this so that I could become a better snow driver. At least that was my
Mm.
excuse. It was fun doing donuts. Um, but but then, in my college years, I had, one time I'm out in the snow, somebody lost control. I barely made it past them. I lost my driver's side mirror. Then I'm in Texas trying to avoid a snowstorm by driving from Colorado to Massachusetts going south. Wrong. I should have gone north where they have the snow equipment and people know what to
Oh,
do.
right. I remember you telling
And
me that.
instead,
Yeah.
instead there's the accident off of the side of the road because they don't know what to do in those conditions.
Yep.
And so I've learned, though I love it, I love playing in that. No,
So
because you don't know about the other guy.
what's the temperature there right now?
Maybe 26, 28. It's supposed to be a high of 30 here today,
Wow.
and it
Oh
went
my
down to
gosh.
16 last night.
So, but are the roads travelable and like are airports closed or is it still is it
Oh,
what is
good question for the airport. The schools, I'm pretty sure, are still closed. They were delayed opening or closed because nobody was on the road here this morning.
wow.
And almost nobody is trying to get anywhere.
Wow.
They're just kind of hunkering down for the moment. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it feels a little bit like Christmas here. But
Wow.
our average temperature right now should be 56, 57 degrees, and it's been below freezing for the better part of a week, although it came up above freezing to give us rain, which then turned to ice, which then turned to snow, which is why we got the ice on the roads.
Wow. That's just craziness. Is it supposed
It,
to be
it
when is it
is.
going to get supposed to warm up?
And if people are listening and going, why is CJ so interested in this? It's because her son is flying back to North Carolina
He is
tomorrow.
tomorrow, so I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
It's supposed
Anyways,
to warm up here on, I believe it's Monday. Because
wow.
the crazy thing that I was doing is going, I don't have any shoes. How do I get my runs in? I run in sandals or I run barefoot,
Oh,
which is
wow.
fine, even down to 30, not a problem. Dry. But running through the
Right.
snow, I put on my wool socks with my sandals, and it's not quite sufficient. So, and I'm like, do I order something for a few days? I have in storage, but I don't want to limp my way to
Right.
storage
Yes.
and risk myself on the ice.
That's
So,
so
it's
hilarious.
only a few days. So I want to go back to signals, which you
Okay.
said, listening to signals, and I want to geek out on this because last week you gave me a very generous offer. I was talking about getting a Garmin Vivo
Oh,
Active.
right.
I've been
Yes.
geeking out on this
Yeah.
thing, and you gave me a generous offer. It turns out it wasn't a Vivo Active. They're kind of older units, older technology. But I stumbled across something cool this week, and it changed the whole game for me. And I stumbled across a newer, a later, greater Vivo Active 3 from Garmin that does what I've wanted a device to do for years. It
Hmm.
measures your heart rate variability, how much of a
Hmm.
change there is between heartbeats, which measures the resilience of your cardiovascular system,
Hmm.
which is a way of measuring your stress.
Oh,
It
fascinating.
actually charts your stress and can tell you what your current stress level is. It can give you a graph of your stress level for the day, show you where your peaks are based on time, even based on GPS, where you were, so that you can learn how to better manage stress, know what's triggering you. We often know what's triggering you, but this is another mindful way to get an idea of what's going on because as things get busier, my goal is to slow down internally. This is another opposite, to slow down more. The busier it gets, the calmer and more relaxed I want to be. And so having a device that shows me this, I'm like, that's it. That's what I've been looking for to help me with a metric of sort of like putting the pin in the weight machine to know how much weight I'm lifting. How can I bring stress levels on an hour by hour or day by day basis down a little bit lower and a little bit lower still? And
Hmm.
so that's really exciting to me to be able to look at my stress level and then take action accordingly.
There are some people for the predictive index, which is this assessment that I do, behavioral assessment, measures four variables. One is patience. And what I find is people who are very patient have that kind of attitude. It's really interesting. They've said to me when I've been, because we work in work groups trying to understand different people's work styles, and the difference between that factor patience is that there's some people who are kind of like proactively running around getting really 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 intense when things actually need to be get done in a certain time, and then there's some people who are like whoa 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 whoa, like before we go rushing into this, let's all breathe. There's only one or two things that we really need to do. And it's funny just hearing folks, because my patience is all the way almost to like maniacal impatient. Like there's a standard deviation, and there's only like 0.5% of people who are more impatient than me, but like I'm like 99.5% in impatience. And it's funny though, because there are people who are on just slightly on the opposite side, and when they find that kind of, they just kind of like they just calm down instantly.
And
I
I've been
strive to be
working,
like that.
I think I was, and maybe that's why we connect so much. I was there where you were on the spectrum.
Hmm.
And I have worked maybe with a giant crowbar to move the railroad tracks over and over and more and more and more and done like a complete rewiring that 90 some odd percent of the time I'm in the let's go slower, it'll get done faster. There is a percentage of the time where I tripwire
Hmm.
and that's where I get to work on because those are the times, I don't know about your relationship, but those are the time for us where Jessica has something to say and I can't hear it because I'm in go mode. I gotta take care of this. It's an absolute emergency. Whatever you're saying, it's gonna have to wait. But truth be told, she really does have the better answer.
You just have to slow down. Well,
But it
it's
doesn't seem it at the time. This is an emergency. And whatever you're saying, no, that sounds like, and I'm filling in the blanks in my head of why whatever she's going to say is not what I need to hear right now, where I need to get out of my default mode network, stop that wiring at that moment, and listen, it would be better for both of us.
It's funny. I think that both, having heard both sides of this equation, there's merits to both, right? The great thing about someone who is impatient is they're very responsive. They get lots and lots of things done, and they don't worry about having things be perfect, but complete, right? What you said before. That's completely the downside of someone who is on the flip side, is that they maybe not hit the deadline, but it will be perfect. But then if you need the deadline being hit, it's not so great. You know what I mean? So it kind of has this there is a balance between both of these things. So we talked about the virtues of one, but then there are the virtues of this other side as well. It's balance, like just like you were saying before. And it's really learning, I guess going back to what you're saying, is knowing the signals of when you move from one side to another. Sometimes it's like, like this weekend, you needed to get that show out because if you try to make it perfect, it would have taken a lot longer. And then there are times when you have to listen to Jessica because she has a better answer, so it's not, I don't even know if it's one or the other so much as a balance between the two and knowing when to reset the rails, when to set the rails this direction or that direction. It's not as if it's an easy answer because it's something that you're going to find over time. That's at least what, like for me, my impatience, I haven't gotten the reset of the rails, but what I try to do is not make things so perfect. And that seems to be like, that's my way of recalibrating. It's like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. But yeah, I think
Well,
I
there's
still,
another piece you brought into it. There's another piece which you brilliantly pointed at without the word. You have brought awareness to it.
right,
Okay, this is my style. And you're helping others to understand their style so that they can get awareness so that you don't judge it good or bad. You go, this is the mode that I work in. Understanding that will help me not to be stressed out in this way, will help my interpersonal dynamics as well. So the more awareness, the better.
right. Yeah. And I think that like if I were to go through my own personal diagnosis, what happens is I get super intense. And the super intense part is the part that's the problem, right? Because it gets like to the thing that you're saying about Jessica, like I'm too busy to do this, or I can't, it's like that kind of thing. That intensity and energy is the part that if I were to look at it, it's like, yeah, the responsiveness is good. The intensity is actually can be good at times, but if it affects your relationships and if it affects all the other parts in your life that you end up dropping because you're so intensely focused on it and getting it done in a certain deadline, I think that that's the thing that you have to kind of calibrate around. So, anyhow,
Makes sense.
yes,
So
always to reduce stress.
you've mentioned a few other things here, and I'm wondering if they even relate to today's talk. I want to cover them, but I have a feeling there's some good segues here. Hunger pains, learning to walk, and boundaries.
So we talked about boundaries, right? And I've been exploring like am I what's the right combination of balancing spending time with relationships and then spending time like being not relating to anyone at all, right? Just having quiet time. The hunger pains are that it relates to stress in that I got on the scale after going to New Orleans and Texas, which have meals that I swear have probably a pint of cream in every single one of them in New Orleans. And in Texas, the portions are gigantic. And so what happened
Was it
during
fun?
it was really fun. I can't, I didn't want to be like, oh, I can't eat any of these things. I'll just eat salad the whole time because then that's not really part of what my sense of vacation is. So in the end, I gained 4 pounds, which is a short, like to gain 4 pounds in a period of 10 days is like a feat in and of itself. But I did gain 4 pounds. And I've been working with my health coach and she said, well, you could fast. And literally the thought of fasting kind of forced me to like literally count every single one of my calories. And, so the last 2 days I've been cutting back my calories to actually under. So I should probably have about 1,200 calories a day. And so I've slid in like below 1,200 or even below 1,100 and I've been able to lose those 4 pounds that I gained. But the thing that was is that in those as of Monday, I almost was crying because I was like, I can't stop these habits. I still feel hungry all the time, even though I don't even know if I'm hungry. I just am hungry all the time as I'm trying to like eat less. And so I would cut my portion in half and then eat half and then like all of a sudden see myself creeping in and eating like a half of the half, and then like 3/4 of the whole meal, before, too much. And she said that what's interesting about hunger is that when you have hunger, it's either one of three things. One is that you're stomach is used to being extended, and so you're attributing that as being full. So if your stomach isn't extended like that, you're not full, and so you overeat. So those gigantic Texas portions kind of made my stomach bigger. So that was like my new level set of what full looked like, and so. I had to kind of like eat. I would feel like hungry if I didn't eat all the way out to that, whatever that level is. And then she said the second thing is we really like to chew because there's something about chewing that calms us. It's kind of a emotional calming down kind of scenario. So, try to like that's why people like carrots, like something that you can just like gnaw on. And so that was the other thing. And she said the other reason why people have like false hunger pains is emotion, right? It's really that I'm emotionally sad that my son is leaving. That's why I'm eating. Not that I'm really hungry. I'm emotionally hungry. So anyways, I've been playing around with that. And oh my gosh, the last 3 days have been really hard on just trying to cut everything down. But I was successful. But seriously, there is a point where I'm like, I can't do this. I literally, I just can't do it. I'm failing. And that, in fact, actually makes everything worse because that you're stressed out already because you've lost weight. And then that stress makes it even harder to lose weight because then all your hormone levels start going crazy. So anyways, I've been successfully able to navigate it, but it was not easy, mostly because of these false hunger pains. And I think it's true of all the things that it like you can take that example and apply it to everything that we've talked about, right? Like the sense of overworking, which we talked about, right? Overworking because we have no boundaries. It's because we're used to having our bellies full with overwork, and that seems to be the new normal. Or really we're overworking because we have like some emotional thing that we're running away from. Anyways, that's my tie-in.
From a kind, gentle, easy, good perspective, it worked. But could we have done it in twice the time with half the stress?
I don't know. That would be a really good question. I think the problem with that is I wouldn't have seen results early enough to know after the first day when I was pushed very hard. I was like, oh, I lost a pound. Okay, now I feel like hopeful because the first couple of days
Right.
I was doing the kind, gentle, easy, like it's okay, you're not able to do it, but like your son's here and like you still want to enjoy meals, and then like things just weren't happening until I kind of forced myself to have the discipline, and then I saw the results, and then it was like just that 1 pound was enough to me, like okay, I can do this. Like for the next couple of days, I just have to like bite down and do this. So I don't know. It's going back to the thing that we were talking about. It's really balanced. Sometimes it's about discipline and focus and intention and, grinding it out. And sometimes it's about gentle, easy, good. I don't know if it's actually one mode, one switch that you switch on and off. Or I
No,
think it is
and
switching on
there's
and
a
off. It's not one switch that you just continually get one track that you're rolling on the whole time.
well, there's a time and a place for everything. Certainly, with the quantity of stuff that we put out in the world, we're doers. We're not just beers. I'm not just saying it'll all take care of itself
Right.
with the Daily Show. There's a certain amount of get her done
Right.
that's
Yeah.
getting done on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. And the learning to walk is the same thing. We talked last week about how I have a leg length difference, and the result of this is kind of like a peg leg scenario where one leg, steps and the other one kind of swings around like a kind
Yeah.
of peg leg. And when I've been walking, I had someone literally look at my legs, and then what I'm doing is I'm actually crossing my one of my legs over the midline, which
Makes
results
sense.
in the other leg having to swing over. And so I've literally been learning to walk, like literally break down,
Oh,
raising your heel, my left heel, raising and moving forward because it's amazing. I only did like 10 of these exercises yesterday and I woke up and my feet were sore. But I'm learning to walk all over again. It's kind of cool, but I did learn something about life and body pains is that I did acupuncture. I've tried so many different things to remedy the physical problems. I did acupuncture. I've done Feldenkrais. I've done PT. I've done chiropractic work. I mean, I've everything in the alternative realm. And I think I've learned a little bit of stuff. There's pain management, which acupuncture is really good at, but it cannot fix the problem. It will just fix the pain. If you have foundational issues, if those aren't fixed, it just doesn't matter because you can, if you keep on, and I use massage, if you don't fix the foundational problems, then you're going to have to constantly do redos with massage and pain management. And then, so there's a foundational piece. If that's messed up, like it doesn't matter what you do because you'll just continually having to do redos. And then after the foundational stuff, you have to be strong because if you're not strong enough, it doesn't matter. Like the foundation has to be set, but then you have to be strong enough to like have your whole body support the foundation. And then after that, there's this integration where you need to integrate all of it together. And that's where I've literally have for the last 5 years I started off not knowing what to do, but I started off doing, okay, well, it's foundation, so I'm going to do chiropractic stuff and then also strength. So I started doing chiropractic and PT work to just get my muscles so that they're strong and that my foundation was correct. And I'm finally at the point where I'm doing now Feldenkrais, which is like integrating all little like, okay, so you've got your foundation, but you have all these habitual habits that are worked in there that are going to undo all this foundational work unless you fix it. But I was thinking, I think that's how, talking about New Year's, which we did last week, I think that's part of what you need to do in order to develop new habits. You have to think about foundation, like get your foundation correct. And then you don't have to do anything, but it helped me at least work foundation, get strength, and then integrate it all together. And that's one way of breaking down the problem, I think. I know you're just waiting to jump in.
No.
Tell me. I can't wait to hear what you have to say because I've been noodling with this idea.
I think you're spot on. If you don't fix the foundation, nothing else matters. So, for instance, if you go to chiropractic but you don't get the strength back afterwards, it's just going to be repeat trip. Once you get that alignment, we then got to find a way to hold it in place so that you don't have to go back.
Right.
And so this is so key. It's so fundamental and to look at in all areas. I was just going to bring it full circle. I was thinking, what's a kind of theme for what we do with all of this today? And I think as strange as it sounds, to bring it back to gratitude. Which is when we're talking about stress, we're talking about building a foundation, we're talking about all of these integral pieces. If we bring awareness, which is what we're talking about today, if we're able to step back from the situation, look at things, rebuild, get to that foundational level, and we want that extra oomph to get us there, you saw after the first day, you saw results. Mm-hmm. You're probably like going, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
But from that place of thanks, you can take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think it's just there's something in here about a model of behavioral change, which I think you're right. You have to be aware. And then the awareness helps you understand the cracks in your foundation, right? And then after you understand so that you can build a stronger foundation. And then after that, it's about like over and over trying to change your behavior.
You said habitual, yeah.
Yeah, and then understanding what kind of habits that you have that are kind of like getting in the way of your behavioral change, and then it's like putting it all together. I mean, I think that is how transformation happens. I don't know.
And going back to the habits piece, and it's a theme that's come up with several guests recently, is it's a practice. Mm-hmm. It's not something that changes overnight, just like your stomach doesn't all of a sudden shrink back to its normal size overnight. It took a couple really good abusive days in Texas and Louisiana to stretch that sucker out.
Yes.
Which was a practice unto itself.
It was. I got the joy and then like the equivalent pain on the other side. But it all balanced out because I did have exquisite joy in eating those Texan and New Orleans delights. So thank you, Texas. New Orleans. So
Any last?
any other last words for you? I'm good.
I've been going back to prayer this week a lot.
Oh,
Going
nice.
back to prayer, going on calling in the archangels, calling in whomever, and saying, in this new year, I don't want to drive the ship. I was going to say I don't want to drive the ship anymore. I want to take that step forward, but I know that there's something more. I know that there is a guiding force, a guiding light, and I want to connect with that even more
Mm,
and hand over the reins in the new year. And so I'm we probably both of us try to live our lives in a state of prayer, but I want to consciously actually go to a state of prayer when I feel an impulse, when I sense
mm,
something, when something's not quite in sync. I want to go to prayer right away and see where that carries me.
mm.
And I feel that's extremely important for me for the new
I
year.
love that. It's funny because I actually did some journaling myself, and it was exactly. It's like focus on ease, focus on ease, and really the ease comes when you accept grace, right? Accept grace from that is coming to you if you just let go and listen, right? Exactly. I love that.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Ultimately, if you want no stress in your life, the simplest answer in the world is let go of attachment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
If you're
true.
not worried, if the result doesn't need to be XYZ, whether it's the most minor thing or the most horrific thing, if it just is as it is, there's no stress around that. And so
Mm-hmm.
going to a place of grace, going to a place of letting go, and some listeners, you're in a place where they're really, it's a horrible, icky place. It could be the worst thing in the world, and there is nothing you can do about it except you can let go.
Right. Yep.
And if you do that, which for your ego, and not meaning bad ego, for our mind is really tough on that point. I get it. But if all you've got is letting go and you let go, it does, on some cellular DNA and heart level, change everything.
Completely agree.
So
Woohoo!
thank you. I feel like I'm leaving it on a serious note. We can't do that. Life is to be joyous, even in the muck of it.
Exactly, Sir Mowser. I'm praying to Grace to help me with Sir Mowser as he scratches through the newspapers.
I am hopeful. Oh, he doesn't go for newspapers. He goes for your bills, for your journal,
Oh
whatever you've got
no!
around. We don't have newspaper. If it
I
was only that. But I do pray for guidance in helping figure out better. Last night I had a spread of 4 different plates out when I went to bed. I wanted to photograph this of 4 different selections for him. Plus, I was putting condiments, these like shredded dried chicken on one and freeze dried beef on another, and you drop it right in front of him so he can see you putting them on there.
It's
So you
fresh,
can
dude.
see,
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious. I love it.
and and so I hope that I will hear that even better over the next few days until Jessica's triumphant return. I believe it's on Tuesday,
I love it.
and that's a woohoo.
Woohoo!
On that note, so for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
saying, be well, have fun, let go of some of that attachment. Remember, done truly is better than perfect. Gain some awareness, go to gratitude, make it a practice. Gee, we've got a lot for you this week. And shine bright.
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support, love, and blessings.